know that feeling when your stomach growls at 11 p.m. and you tell yourself, this means it's working? That's not discipline, that's actually damage. Everyone wants to know, how little can I eat to lose weight? But that's not the right question. The question should be, how much can I eat while my body still lets go of fat? Because the first path, it leads to suffering and maybe even wrecking your metabolism. Where the second, it offers sustainable results. Which is why in today's video, I'm gonna show you exactly how many calories to consume to lose fat. And this will be the actual amount of calories that you need, not some arbitrary number from an app, not 1,200 calories because that's what everyone you know is doing. The actual number that's gonna work for your body. Let's fix this right away. The first thing you need to know is your maintenance calories. This is the amount of energy you need to consume just to maintain your current body weight. For women that are sedentary, you're not very active, you can find out this number by taking your body weight in pounds and multiplying it by a factor of 12 to 13. For moderately active women, this will be taking your body weight in pounds and multiplying it by 13 to 14. And for the very active, take your body weight and multiply it by 14 to 16. For men, we're gonna have a similar pattern here. For those sedentary men, you're gonna take your body weight and multiply it by 14 to 15. Moderately active is body weight multiplied by 15 to 16. And for those that are very active, we have a range of body weight multiplied by 16 to 18. Let's do an example. Let's say you're a 150-pound woman that is moderately active. You're gonna take your body weight, which is 150 pounds, and multiply it by that activity factor, 13.5. That'll give you roughly 2,025 calories at maintenance. For a 200-pound moderately active man, let's again use a number right in the middle of the range, so 15.5 times the body weight of 200 pounds. That's gonna give you a number of maintenance calories or your total daily energy expenditure at 3,100 calories. Now, I've coached around 2,000 nutrition clients over the last 10 years. Many of them come to me wanting to lose fat, and many of them struggling to lose fat. They've tried stuff in the past. They're eating a very low level of calories, 1,200 calories per day, and they feel cold all the time, low energy, maybe their hair is thinning. And they've been doing this for months and seriously trying. And they ask me, why isn't this working? What am I doing wrong? Through this process, I realized something important. They weren't failing the diet was failing them. And if this sounds familiar, and if you've been dieting for a while and struggling, this level of food and your level of calories might be lower than what it needs to be because your metabolism has adapted a little bit, not tons, and it hasn't crashed, but it has come down a little bit to compensate for the low levels of food you're going to be eating. That's okay, and we're gonna address that. But first, we need to know your baseline. Let's start by creating a sustainable deficit. Let me show you how to do that. Most people that struggle with dieting, they screw up at this step because they go way too aggressive right off the bat. They cut 1,000 calories overnight, start exercising like crazy, and then they wonder why they're miserable and why it isn't working. What actually works? 3 deficit levels. The first one being a conservative deficit, anywhere between 5 to 10% calories, meaning you're taking off around 150 to 300 calories or eating under that amount. This will allow most people to lose around 0.5 to 1% of their body weight per week. It's usually best for people that are close to their goal weight or quite lean to begin with. In some cases, they can actually build muscle simultaneously, especially if they're relatively new to this. In terms of sustainability, this is something that you can do for longer periods of time since the deficit isn't very aggressive. You could do this for around 4 to 6 months, in most cases, comfortably. Will there be some higher days within that 4 to 6 months? Of course, but for most people, they can sustain that for longer periods of time. What this would look like for our 2,025 calorie example would be consuming around 1,825 calories per day, putting them in a modest 2,200 calorie deficit per day. And this is where the emotional piece comes in. That small deficit for most people feels invisible. It's not a struggle. It's part of normal life to eat at that level. You're not white knuckling it through dinner parties. You're not lying awake hungry or wondering where your next meal is going to come from. You're losing fat at an acceptable rate, eating enough total food overall, albeit in a deficit, but life is coasting. Next up, we have a more moderate deficit. This is removing around 10 to 20% of the calories per day, 300 and 600 calories under. For most people, again, they'd be losing around 0.5 to 1% of their body weight per week, but probably erring on the higher side of that range. This is best for most people most of the time, or at least most people need to get to this level of deficit to see an appreciable amount of fat over time. Most people would be able to keep up with this for around 2 to 3 months before needing a diet break. Again, that's 8 to 12 weeks. And for our example of around 2,025 calories at maintenance, this would mean you're eating around 1,525 calories per day, 500 calories under. For most people dieting, this is the sweet spot. You can feel it, but it is working and you can handle it. Maybe you're skipping French fries, but you're definitely not skipping meals. Your body doesn't panic, but it's still strategic enough that you're losing fat. Now there is a more aggressive level. And again, as you're probably expecting, this isn't appropriate for most people. In an aggressive deficit, you're taking away 20% or more calories per day. And for most people, this is going to be around a 600 plus calorie deficit. In those cases, you're losing 1 to 2, maybe even 3 pounds per week. It's probably best suited for not everyone, but those with a deadline that need a short-term push. They have a goal in mind that they're shooting towards. And in terms of sustainability, this is around 6 to 12 weeks maximum. For our example, someone consuming 2,025 calories per day, they would be consuming around 1,300 calories daily. And this is where it gets real. Again, not for most people. And if you remember that 11 p.m. hunger I talked about, that's this situation. An aggressive deficit can work, but only when you have that deadline to focus on, or you have very high levels of body fat to support it. If you're already quite lean and pushing this hard, every hour that goes by, the hunger becomes worse and worse, and it's very tough to sustain. Over time, there are going to be impacts to your metabolism, even outside what we would see in just losing weight, as well as it's really tough to burn calories. So you're not going to be burning as much energy just moving throughout the day. You add that to your hunger hormones spiking, which means that it's going to be tough to manage your appetite and cravings. Your energy is going to crash. Everything starts to get impacted. Your workouts suffer, your sleep suffers. If you can avoid this, which most people can, you should avoid it. You start to believe that you're the problem, that you don't have enough willpower, or that your body is defective. The truth is, it has nothing to do with you. It's just not the right plan. You're not the problem, the approach is. Let's talk about another thing that's gonna make all of this easier, which is the protein factor. You can't just cut calories and call it a day. Within the food that you are eating, you need to make sure a lot of it is protein, or at least more of it is protein, because that's what's gonna determine where you're losing that weight from. Is it mostly fat, or is it more muscle? How much protein should you be consuming? Here are some minimum protein targets. Around 0.7 to 1.0 grams of protein per pound of body weight, or around 1.8 to 2.2 if you're measuring in kilograms. This is a range, right? So you're gonna be on the higher end of the range if you're in aggressive deficit, and you'll be on the higher end as well if you're already quite lean. So for our 150 pound woman, she's gonna be between 105 to 150 grams of protein per day. That's gonna be around 4 to 6 servings of protein, or palm-sized portions of protein throughout the day. Why does this matter in a deficit? Well, when you're in a calorie deficit and you're dieting, your body's going to look internally for more energy. It looks for this energy in two sources. Either your body fat, which in most cases is ideal, or your body muscle tissue. By eating more protein, your body is going to start to burn some of that protein that you're ingesting instead of the body tissue, preserving the muscle that you already do have. Without eating enough protein, you will lose weight, but more of it is going to be from your hard-earned muscle than just fat. And you want to avoid this by eating more protein. I remember one nutrition client I had, let's call her Sarah. She came to me after months of dieting on 1,200 calories. She'd lost around 12 pounds, which is great, but she didn't really look it. She looked softer, not leaner, not the look that she wanted. And why was this the case? Well, she was consuming 1,200 calories a day and she was in a deficit and she was losing weight, but she was only eating 60 grams of protein. Her body started tapping into more of her muscle for fuel to make up the deficit. And eventually when she stopped dieting, she gained all the weight back because there were bigger impacts on her metabolism as well. This wasn't a great situation to find Sarah in, but I had a pretty clear idea of what she needed to do moving forward. Over time, we increased her calories to around 1,800 calories, a lot of that coming from protein, nearly double the amount at 120 grams. And within 3 months, she was back down nearly 10 pounds. But this time, she looked completely different. Her body composition was in a completely different place. She was lean, she was defined, she was much stronger. She had the look she had been working for all along. That's the difference between dieting against your body and working with it. The next thing you're gonna wanna know and understand is how long you should keep up eating at this level of calories, or how long you should stay in a calorie deficit. What's the timeline? One question I get asked constantly, both from clients as well as nutrition coaches, is how long can I stay in a calorie deficit? And nobody wants to hear this, but it depends on how well you're handling it. Let's talk about some different timelines. First off, we have short term, between 4 to 12 weeks. Most people can handle a moderate calorie deficit 4 weeks without any major side effects. And you probably know this, it's not overly hard for shorter periods of time. You can even pull off more aggressive deficits for shorter periods of time, but past that, it's not very sustainable. What happens when you do too much for too long? Your body adapts, you start to lose more muscle than you need to. It's a lot easier to go off plan and eat much more food. You burn less energy through spontaneous movement, which makes the deficit even less effective. And you're hungrier because you haven't been eating as much food, as well as your workout performance suffers. It's not fun. The more aggressive you get, the shorter your timeline should be. Let's talk about a more medium timeline though, between 3 to 6 months. Longer deficits can work, but the longer you diet, the more likely you are to experience some of those negative side effects. And here are some of those side effects. An increased risk of losing lean body mass, larger impact on your metabolism, hormonal changes that would make it harder to stick to, as well as you just get sick of dieting. Unless you have something firm to focus on, like a timeline or a show, it gets harder to stick to the same things. At this stage, many people benefit from a dieting break, bringing your calories up to maintenance for 1 to 2, maybe even 3 weeks, or more frequent refeed days, which are working your calories up to maintenance calories coming mainly from carbohydrates for 1 to 2 days to replenish your glycogen stores and help out your energy levels as well. The most important part to consider here when we think about timelines is the more body fat you have to lose, the longer deficit you can sustain. And this is good news because the more body fat you have to lose, the longer it is that it's going to take. So even if you're losing 2 pounds of body fat or at least body weight per week, you can do this for longer because you have a larger proportion of body fat to pull from. In most cases, less will come proportionally from muscle because you have more body fat to tap into. Let me show you an example of this in real time. So I worked with a client for around 8 months. He lost around 30 plus pounds total. Most of that time, at least 7 of the months, was spent in active dieting. He started at around 235 pounds with maintenance calories around 3,200. And we started at a deficit at around 2,800 calories per day, which put him moderately at a 400 calorie deficit. We added in a bit more movement through a bit more moderate cardio, and his weight dropped right away. Within the first 3 months, he was down to 224 pounds. That's 12 pounds over 12 weeks, which is right on pace with what we would want to see in most progress. Within 3 months, things started to slow down and plateau a little bit, so we made the deficit a little bit bigger, going down to around 2,600 calories per day, or a deficit of 600 calories. And things, went pretty smoothly. His energy levels didn't tank, his metabolism didn't crash, his muscles didn't fall off. He continually made progress. And since I was coaching the person right in front of me, that 600 calorie deficit could seem aggressive to most, but for him, it was completely okay. No huge issues with hunger. His exercise performance in the weight room was like right on pace. Things were going good. In some movements, he was even getting stronger. He was making the most of his food choices, and for the most part, his appetite was well regulated. Had it been the opposite, and maybe he couldn't stick to it, maybe we would have cut the diet at just 4 months. But since things were going well and he was continuing to get leaner, we kept this deficit going. By the end of the second block of 3 months, we had been working together for around 6 or 6.5 months total. He was down to 2,400 calories per day, but still feeling pretty good, and at a body weight of 211 pounds. Down 24 pounds like clockwork, and we stuck to this plan for around 6 months total. There's no golden rule that in a fat loss phase, it needs to be for X amount of weeks long, or if you do anything longer than that, your metabolism crashes. You've got to listen to your body, think about how things are going in terms of hunger and energy levels. And this is where a coach is super helpful to help make some of those objective decisions with you. So when should you stop or take a break? Look for these signs. Some telltale signs that you should stop or take a break would be extreme fatigue that just doesn't go away regardless of what you do or if you're well rested, poor recovery from workouts, poor progress despite sticking to the plan, and struggling to adhere to your diet consistently. You're going off plan and you're eating way too much food more frequently than you'd like. If you're experiencing these especially frequently and things that just won't go away, it's probably time to back off and go back up to maintenance or a slight surplus for a while before going back to a deficit. Now, if you've also been dieting for a while or you're an experienced dieter, you're quite lean already, it's not a bad rule of thumb to think about spending 4 to 5 times as much time in a calorie surplus or closer to maintenance than you do in a deficit. This ensures that you're not constantly just becoming a smaller version of yourself by constantly cutting or being in a deficit, and you're giving yourself enough high quality time to put on some muscle so you actually get bigger. If you're trying to cut this up into chunks, what it would look like in most cases, most coaches will use a 2 to 4 month deficit phase, then 2 to 4 weeks of maintenance, and that'll allow you to have a focus and periodize things. So here's what I want you to hear today. You're not flawed, your body is not sabotaging you, you don't need more discipline or willpower, you just need a different approach. One that treats your body as the intelligent system it is, not just an enemy that it needs to starve into submission. Fat loss doesn't mean just eating as little as possible, it means eating as much as you can while you still get leaner. Not minimum calories, not barely enough. As much food as you can while staying in a deficit. Because when you eat enough, you give yourself enough energy so that your metabolism stays at the highest level it can while being on a deficit. Your hormones stay healthy, your energy levels stay high, your workouts stay strong, and your body actually trusts you to let go of the fat. The person that you've been waiting to become, the one that's lean, mean, energized, focused, and finally at peace with food, that person isn't on the other side of 1,200 calories a day. This person is on the other side of alignment. All right, if everything I've outlined in the video today makes sense and you're thinking, I could really do something like this and completely transform, I want you to check out a completely free resource I put together for you. Go click the first link down in the description below and you're gonna get instant access to my complete transformation guide that'll walk you through this entire process, teach you what foods to eat, so you can become the best version of yourself. And once you're done that diet, if you enjoyed this video, you're gonna love the video I've linked up right here. Next up, I'll teach you everything you need to know about the science of reverse dieting and what's gonna happen after your diet. You'll learn all about that in this video I've linked up right here. So check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.